Trapped in Paradise marks an interesting period for Nicolas Cage. It's one of the films in his Jimmy Stewart phase. Cage had briefly dabbled in romantic comedies before, but when you look at one of his first efforts in Peggy Sue Got Married, things have certainly changed. In that film, Cage was at his off-the-wall best. Here's how it happened, according to the Chicago Tribune. Cage. The character was this leading man, sort of suave, debonair guy who's in school. And I said, you know, I don't really want to play that. I want to take it out. And Francis says, well, how far out? And I said, I want to make it talk like Pokey, the claymation horse from the Gumby and Pokey show. And Francis was like, okay. So we went into rehearsals and we started doing it. You should have seen the looks on the faces of the other actors. In fact, Kathleen Turner tried to get him fired, but Francis Ford Coppola stopped it from happening. Kathleen Turner also wrote that Cage tried to steal a chihuahua during shooting. She later recanted after a lawsuit.
Charlie, let's make love.
What? You mean sex? Intercourse. You want to have intercourse? Last weekend, you said. What time is it? Holy cow. It's late.
A lot of things have happened since last weekend.
But you were the one who said we should wait, and you were right. We should wait till we get married.
Well, I know I must have believed that but when I said it, but doesn't Lucky Chucky want to come out?
Huh?
No. Your love machine, your throbbing thrill hammer, your thing.
You mean my wang?
And so straight leads in rom-coms didn't seem like they were exactly in the cards back then. But Cage was making a move to becoming a less quirky leading man. He'd done it a little bit earlier in 1992 as Jack Singer in Honeymoon in Vegas.
What do you say? He wants me to walk around in her clothes?
It wasn't that specific.
How could you put me in this position?
What do you think? I knew it was coming. I wanted this to happen. I was completely blindsided.
Jack, I still don't understand this. You went in there with $500, right? We had this whole discussion.
I had a straight flush. Hey, how you doing? Do you know what a straight flush is? It's like unbeatable.
Like unbeatable is not unbeatable.
Hey, I know that now, okay?
Don't yell at me! I hate this place. I won't sleep with him no matter who he is.
Are you crazy? Of course not. That's not even a consideration.
No?
No.
What if he holds a gun to my head?
Betsy, he's a gambler. He's not a gangster. He was a garment center guy originally.
Oh, he was a garment center guy. Well, that's a relief.
I'm not saying it's great.
Look at all these families here. Happy families. I'm a whore, Jack. You've made me into a whore.
Honey, you don't think this is destroying me? I don't know what to do.
You brought me to Las Vegas and you turned me into a whore, Jack.
Shh, let's just forget about this, all right? This is insanity, and somehow I'll get the money.
From whom? My parents don't have it. One weekend, he said.
Yes.
I can't.
I don't want you to. This is nuts!
He began the year with guarding Tess, playing a Secret Service agent guarding a former First Lady.
Well, I've talked about myself enough for one night. Let's talk about you.
Me? Oh, well, there's nothing much to say, man.
Come on, Douglas, of course there is. For instance, what's it like guarding that crazy old bitch Tess Carlisle?
Mrs. Carlisle, please.
It must get pretty screwy over there, right? The woman lives like a hermit, likes to play golf in a snowstorm. Just the rudimentary facts. Family. Start there.
Family. My father's a retired cop. My mother was a millinery buyer for a small department store.
Married once for 7 months. Come on, Douglas.
You looked into my records.
My husband told me I do not look into people's records. Well, was it painful or a fling?
Everybody seemed to know what she was really like except me.
I'm sorry.
I just don't like people knowing about it because it's embarrassing to me that I was married for such a short time.
You can count on me, Secret Agent Douglas Chesnick.
Special secret agent in charge, Douglas Chesnick.
Then it was It Could Happen to You, the story of him splitting a lotto ticket with a waitress who he promised it to.
Is anyone here?
Go away.
Keep on.
No, you don't want to be with me.
What are you talking about? Huh? I love you.
No. Oh, don't you get it? I've ruined your life.
Are you crazy? These past couple of days, I felt like half of me was missing.
You won $4 million in the lottery. I mean, do you know what an amazing gift that is? And because of me, you have nothing.
Because of you, I have you. Why can't you understand that? If you don't want me, that's different. If you don't want me, I'll walk right out that door and you'll never see me again. But please stop talking about the money. It means nothing to me. You want me to go?
Never. Never. I have to excuse me sometimes. It's just nobody ever loved me before.
And then, Trapped in Paradise. All the films are Frank Capra-esque, but Trapped in Paradise's townspeople could have come straight from It's a Wonderful Life. Cage played Bill Firpo. Opposite his on-screen brothers, the rising SNL alums John Lovitz and Dana Carvey, who rob a local town, but due to a snowstorm, can't manage to leave. The town treats them as prodigal sons, inviting them into their homes and cooking meals for them, which start to warm the bank robbers' hearts. And Cage is much toned down from the former days of Peggy Sue Got Married. He's not bouncing off the walls, as he had done a year earlier in the film Deadfall.
Hi, fucking yeah!
In this film, he's the one reacting to most of the characters' craziness. This Christmas crime story was written and directed by George Gallo, who had written Midnight Run with Robert De Niro and Charles Grodin. This is the story of Trapped in Paradise.
20th Century Fox would like you to meet the Firpo family. Dave.
Once released from this prison, I, much like my reptilian brother, the pterodactyl, shall fly high above my problems.
Alvin.
Excuse me. The sign says take a pen, not take all the pens.
Bill.
Look at that abandoned car.
It's my car.
Oh.
Their ma.
Beautiful dreamer.
Hey, Edna, how'd you like to ride in the trunk of the car?
Edna, are we sleeping together? I think not.
One big temptation.
Forget it.
Forget what?
There's no money in the vault.
And what have we here?
$275,000.
One brilliant plan.
All right! This is a robbery!
All right, who's got the key? Raise your hand. Oh.
Do you boys really want to do this?
Absolutely!
But on Christmas Eve,
It doesn't seem right.
One huge mistake.
I just did what the map said. I made 4 lefts.
4 lefts? Is that Sarko, you idiot?
Robbing the bank was easy.
Oh my God, are you okay?
Well, we're not dead, if that's what you mean.
Why don't you come join my family and me for a wonderful Christmas dinner by the fire?
But surviving the nicest little town in the world,
Here we are.
that's the hard part.
Come on in.
I just robbed these people. I don't want to get to know them, all right?
If you don't give me that money, I'm gonna throw your mother out the window.
All right, love you too.
Do you need any money?
No, we've taken more than our share already.
20th Century Fox presents the story of 3 brothers looking to get out of paradise
Is there a bus or a train?
any way they can. Nicolas Cage.
I'm getting this feeling that you're not telling me something.
John Lovitz.
Yeah, well, this feeling you're getting is paranoia.
Dana Carvey.
Come on, let's just go.
Trapped in Paradise.
Don't aggravate the old witch.
I wish I was a witch. I'd shove my broomstick right up your
Director, George Gallo.
Directed a movie called 29th Street with Danny Aiello and Anthony LaPaglia and Lainie Kazan. It was about the first lottery winner in New York State. So I did that movie after Midnight Run. That's the first movie I directed. I did that for 20th Century Fox. I had a 2-picture deal with them. That's back when they were doing things like that, which was great because, you owed the studio a couple of movies and you didn't have to be out hustling all the time, I was sort of in a Frank Capra state of mind. Fox said something to me. I don't know exactly where it started, but they were talking about doing a couple of holiday movies. And so I like writing crime stuff, sort of criminal activity stuff. So I combined a caper with a Christmas movie, and that was sort of the beginning of it. I have to tell you, that grew out of some real experiences with me. I had an incident like that when I was young, where I was in Pennsylvania because I'm also a painter, and I paint a lot of landscape paintings, and I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania. And one time I did have car trouble, and some folks helped me out on the side of the road, and it was around Christmas time. And they were like, I was with a friend of mine, and they were like, "Are you guys hungry? Do you want to come back to our house?" And I was like, "Oh, no, I couldn't do that." And then I ended up going back to their house to make a phone call and to get somebody out to fix the car. Before you know it, me and my buddy, we were having dinner with these people. And I'm like, of course, you're from the city, and you think, like, what are they, just serial killers? How can anybody be this nice? But in a lot of these rural areas, people really are this nice, and they don't have a mean bone in their body, and so that's sort of where the idea first came to me for the script. Obviously that's a far cry from the story that I wrote, but I did like the idea that you go to a small town and then you rob the place, you rob the bank, and then the people just kill you with kindness, to the point where you're just so overwhelmed with guilt that you want to put the money back. My original version of the movie, I originally had more of a Bad Santa kind of movie in my head, and I wanted to make it R-rated and very, very tough dialogue and, real tough guys robbing a bank. The studio was nervous. I think the idea was a little ahead of its time. I think the studio was nervous about doing an R-rated Christmas story. Like, the two things didn't jive for them. As time went on, 10, 15 years later, people started making movies a little more, racy, dealing with, let's say, holiday season. But I tried to sell that version of it, and it didn't really fly. So then I started taking back some of the edginess of it, and then it became a little more, let's say, of a frothy comedy that all different age groups could see. And I was never 100% sure if that was a great idea or not, but it was a chance to direct a big movie for a studio, so I went along with it. That's pretty much how it came to pass.
I'm robbing a bank!
It's across the street.
Breaking in the bank.
On Christmas Eve. It doesn't seem right.
Trying to pull a heist.
Who's got the key? Raise your hand!
Oh, there's just no way to steal.
4 left! As I start going, you idiot!
From people this are nice.
Why don't you come join my family for Christmas dinner?
Dinner's on the stove.
Smells good.
Wait till you see the giblet gravy.
Mom is on her way.
You guys are dumber than a box of hair.
They're out to put the money back and save this holiday.
20th Century Fox presents the story of a town so nice.
Do you need any money?
Now, we've taken more than our share already.
It's turning 3 wise guys into 3 wise men.
I'm gonna put the money back.
You are going to be the first guy in history to get pinched for putting money back.
No!
Trapped in paradise.
You don't aggravate the old witch.
I wish I was a witch. I'd shove my broomstick right up your...
Ma!
They came to me pretty much with the casting ideas. I did love Nick Cage. I mean, he was this, before he became the big movie star. And even while he was a big movie star, to me, he was always a little bit of a counterculture kind of actor, the sort of independent guy that, I really, really dug. A lot of people, I think, have imitated him since, but imitated some of those rhythms that he was coming up with. So I think he had just done, is it Honeymoon? No, not Honeymoon. Which is the one where he's in Las Vegas? Is it Honeymoon in Vegas? Yeah, with James Caan. And I just thought he was great in that. I mean, just great in that movie. He had such very pointed and focused energy, and the way he would do those rhythms where he talked like this, and yes, I know that now. He just had such. I just really enjoyed what he was doing, and it seemed pretty unique. And I don't know if he would mind me saying this, but he later told me, because I talked to him. I said, when we in between takes on Trapped in Paradise, I asked him. I said, where did you come up with these rhythms, because they're very unique and they're very funny. And he told me that he borrowed some of it from Dennis Hopper. And he said, because Francis obviously directed Apocalypse Now, and he said that Dennis Hopper's character in Apocalypse Now kind of went, is he a wise man? Is he a great man? Nick was obviously influenced by that. He gathered up some of those rhythms.
Could we talk to Colonel Kurtz?
Hey, man, you don't talk to the colonel. Well, you listen to him. The man's enlarged my mind. He's a poet, warrior in the classic sense. I mean, sometimes you'll say hello to him, right? And he'll just walk right by you, and he won't even notice you. And then suddenly he'll grab you, and he'll throw you in a corner, and he'll say, do you know that if is the middle word in life? If you can keep your head when all about you're losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you. I mean, I can't. I'm a little man. He's a great man. I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across floors of silent seas. I mean...
Stay with the boat.
Hey, don't go without me, okay? I want to get a picture.
I had a great time working with him. I mean, we got along, really, really well, and... the movie was a very grueling shoot. It's when you look at it now, it all looks like, the sort of Walt Disney Christmas town, beautiful lights everywhere. And but we shot it north of Toronto, and it was the coldest winter on record. And I'm not exaggerating. Some nights it was 45 below zero, and people were getting frostbite. It was pretty awful. I said to myself, I mean, that was definitely like a young man's game, making that movie. I was, 35, 36 years old, and I said, I don't think I'm ever going to write night or snow again. It's like when you're sitting home and you're in your warm, comfortable environment writing, and, you'll write anything. It's night, it's raining, it's snowing, and you're just, then you have to go shoot this stuff. And then, then you get out there, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, what was I thinking? So, anyway. Yes, it snows constantly in the movie. It was always real on the ground. Except, I think in one shot at the end of the movie, you could see it's a snow blanket because the wind actually blows it. But generally, yeah, it was all real snow. And when it wasn't snowing, we used potato flakes, bleached potato flakes, which we threw in front of fans. Unfortunately, we shot in 3 different locations pretty much for the town. One was Guelph, and then... we shot in Canada. The main part of town was a place called Niagara on the Lake. Beautiful town, but they banned shooting there after we left because the potato flakes, which are, they're biodegradable, but I guess they got into the sewers, and as they rotted, the place just stunk for like 6 months later. People were still complaining about it.
I know how your mind works. You know exactly what you're doing. And the whole time, you stand there with this who me expression on your face!
You know, he was sort of an anti-hero kind of a guy, kind of trapped between his wanting to do the right thing and having sort of a larcenous heart, and then, getting dragged into it by his brothers. But, a lot of times, like all I did was I just rehearsed the three of them, and, and I let people go a lot, It's like I've watched some pretty terrific directors work, and I find the better the director, the less they talk. When I hear guys talking a lot, I'm like, I think you could just fill actors' heads up with too much junk, and I just think it's better to let people play. I mean, they certainly know what they're doing. Hopefully you hire the right people for the job. You got three great comedic minds there. And if anything, I just try to steer it a little bit here and there. I just sort of cut them loose. And just let them invent stuff. I mean, I never understood, like, why would you get someone like Robin Williams, and then just sit on him and tie him up? It makes no sense. You hire a guy like that to cut him loose. It was the same with the three of them, like I say, the weather definitely got to everybody. And I tried to shoot as little takes as possible because people were literally like in these sort of Arctic suits, and they were too. And then when we got ready to shoot, they would take all the stuff off, hit their marks, they would shoot, and then I'd say cut, and then they'd literally go back to trying to warm up again because it was just so cold. And like I say, again, a lot of crew people got frostbite and stuff like that, so.
The shoot was extremely difficult because of the weather, and one of the people it really got to was Jon Lovitz. Lovitz was beginning to land more high-profile roles in film. A year earlier, he had been cast as Billy Crystal's annoying brother in the follow-up to City Slickers. And in an interview with the AV Club, Lovitz described the difficulties he had on the shoot. Well, I feel like I'm very fortunate to be in movies at all, but I called it trapped in shit. I love Dana, and Nicolas Cage was great, and we became friends, but the director, George Gallo, just wasn't there. He wasn't directing. It was a bad time in my life personally, because my father had just died on December 25th, and I'm up in the snow with no light. We did night shoots for 6 weeks. It was like 25 below. Everyone was fine, but after 6 weeks, the whole crew was going crazy because there's no light. It really affects your mood. Then we moved to Toronto, so we're shooting inside. It wasn't fancy, but inside during the day, this was a luxury. It was like 31 degrees, but it felt like summer. So as soon as I worked during the daylight, my mood changed. But the director would say, just do whatever you want. He was bragging about what a great director he was before he hired us. I'm as good as Rob Reiner and Martin Scorsese. This is George Gallo. I said, don't you think you should let other people say that? We never even got to read the script. He'd go, well, let's rehearse this. I'd go, oh good, we get to rehearse. And then he'd start screaming at me, do whatever you want. And I'd go, saying do whatever you want is not direction. 6 weeks in, Dana and Nicholas took over. We were doing this scene where we had to take out these trash bags from the trunk of a car and change clothes, and it was complicated. Nicholas was like, what do you want? And George goes, do whatever you want. Nicholas ended up basically directing that scene because we had to choreograph it. It's too much stuff in the action. You can't just do whatever you want. You have to shoot a master, then you have to shoot coverage. You have to match everything. You have to plan it out. It's absurd. And the movie did horrible, but people like it. I've done a lot of movies and thought, this will be fun, and it's a disaster, but then people like it. So you never know. But what made me angry was the director started blaming us and said I didn't know my lines, which was complete bullshit. I was on the set and I asked him, is this the scene where... Because when you're doing a movie, they shoot out a sequence. So we're shooting in the middle of this empty field, and there's nothing. I asked the director, is this the part of the scene after we steal the Lexus and it goes over the cliff, and we've climbed up the hill, and it's starting there? He goes, I don't know. I don't have time for these questions. You have to know the script. He was right. I should have known it better, and I hadn't looked at it enough. But it turns out the answer to my question is yes. So I knew it enough. And he wrote the thing. It was like, you don't know where we're starting the scene from? I mean, he didn't know anything. I don't care. I'll tell everybody. He wouldn't even come out of his tent. It was freezing cold. We're out there shooting this scene, and there's a problem on the set, and he's 50 yards away in his tent. We go, George, what do? There's a problem. And he goes, I'm looking at fucking Jupiter. It was ridiculous.
I've never looked through a telescope in my life. I don't know what that means. No, I'm not much of a stargazer. I don't know what that means. I thought we got along pretty well, but then in retrospect, when I started reading some things, I don't want to make this all about John Lovitz. I mean, but just, in retrospect, I felt, I guess, he didn't enjoy the experience as much as I did, which, that's sad. I think we did a really good piece of work. I mean, I think he's really terrific in it. He's very, very funny. I mean, he's even got an emotional scene where he cries. And, I guess he wanted a lot of direction. But I was like, John, you're doing a great job. What do you want me to say? I mean, and I think he saw it as a lack of me being involved, which, couldn't be further from the truth. I just, look, a lot of times actors do their best work when they're insecure. They don't realize it. They want to get control in a funny way. But sometimes when they get so in control of what they're doing, it doesn't look fresh anymore. And I've worked with some terrific actors. Some people want to talk a lot. They want to really rehearse a lot, and other people don't. And, from my perspective, I'm supposed to figure out what's best for them. That doesn't mean I'm right all the time. But, John off camera could be hysterical. He would make little quips and say little things, and I would think to myself, that's what I want. I want that freshness. I want that reactive thing that he's doing. And I'm not going to tell him that. I'm not going to say, hey, John, you're better if I back away, because then he'll become self-aware of it. So listen, it's whatever. He can perceive it however he wants. I think he did a really good job, and I think the movie got sort of viciously attacked by some critics, and I think then it just played into whatever ill feelings he may have had about the way I was directing the film. But I mean, look, I don't think you can pay a lot of attention to critics. I don't think, look, in the end, I mean, is it imperfect? Yeah, I mean, but a lot of people love it. I mean, a lot of people really love that movie. I'm always a little surprised because to me, it was just meant to be a romp. But I've had a lot of people say that's their favorite Christmas movie. So I'm, that's a compliment I'll take. I mean, the movie's heart was certainly in the right place, So, but I always feel bad because every once in a while I see John will say something about the movie that, like, I think he said something like that the actors were actually directing the movie. I mean, it's just not true. I mean, I think he thought that. And if they came up with a bit amongst themselves, and they wanted to do it, I was like, oh, that's great. Who cares where the idea came from? I let people go. I just cut them loose, and I mean, that's what Robert Altman did, and he did pretty good as a director.
I'm getting this feeling that you're not telling me something.
Yeah, well, this feeling you're getting is paranoia.
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, think again.
It's funny. I like Nick a lot. He's incredibly hardworking, incredibly focused. That was the picture he did before he won the Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas. Because when we were shooting Trapped in Paradise, he was in his hotel room, when I would go there to talk to him from time to time about what we were shooting or what changes we were making. He had the script of Leaving Las Vegas, and he was just reading it. And I said to him, what is that? And he goes, oh, it's about a guy killing himself by drinking, and I think I'm going to go do this movie next. So it's just before he blew up. But I mean, and I thought we had a wonderful time. He's very intense. Sometimes I don't think we made, let's say, the deepest of emotional connections because he was so locked into what he was doing. have the utmost respect for Nick. I really do. We haven't talked now in years. He's a very gifted guy. Just a very talented, gifted guy. And I have to tell you, because he went soaring to the top, after our movie. Now I think he's probably, he's certainly not in the spot that he was. He'll be like one of those brilliant character actors, as he gets older and he gets into his 60s and 70s. He'll be like Christopher Plummer or one of those guys, because he's just rock solid, and he loves acting. And I honestly believe his best work is yet to come.
Jolly old Saint Nicholas, lean your ear this way. Don't you tell a single soul what I'm going to say. Christmas Eve is coming soon. Now are you, dear old man? Whisper what you'll bring to me. Tell me if you can. When the clock is striking 12, when I'm fast asleep, down the chimney, broad and black, with your pack you'll creep. All the stockings you will find hanging in a row. Mine will be the shortest one. You'll be sure to know. Johnny wants a pair of skates. Susie wants a sled. Nellie wants a storybook, one she hasn't read. Now I think I'll leave to you what to give a rest. Choose for me, dear Santa Claus, what you think is best.
I did two movies back to back. I did Bigger, about Joe Weider, with that movie, a beautiful little film. It's going to be on HBO now. It's having its run on Amazon and Netflix and everything else. But and then The Poison Rose comes out May 24th. The trailer premiered yesterday. So.
My name is Carson Phillips. I'm a Hollywood PI. I like to drink, smoke, and gamble.
Only the big dogs left.
We live in a world that's full of risk.
I don't. I never lose, Carson.
A lot has happened since I left Texas. You did well.
Looks can be deceiving.
How can I help you?
I'd like to hire him. My daughter's a scorned wife. This is the first place they'll come looking.
So what happened with that?
He died. You and I both know she had nothing to do with Happy's death.
Happy's murder.
I never meant to leave you.
Was it the hit that killed him?
Breaking news. Star quarterback dead.
People just disappear here.
Take care of that little problem of ours.
Doc owns everything and everybody.
He could undo a lot of business just by making noise.
Did Happy do drugs?
Happy's drug was Rose.
He's been blatantly cheating on her all over town.
Make this his last warning.
Your move.
Just tell me the truth.
Doc told him, throw the game.
Walk away.
I can't.
place, Carson. Far worse than you can imagine.
I never meant to leave you.
There's a man like me in every town. We're all alike. Some are just better. I keep that in mind.
To me.